Of the 22 recognized wildlife refuges in Montana, one stands out as the only privately held property to receive this designation. In the Bitterroot Valley, 1,300 acres of land and water have been protected for fish and wildlife habitat, yet remain open to public recreation, thanks to the foresight and generosity of a conservation-minded landowner.
Worked like a charm.
Teller is 1,300 acres of private land that's held by a nonprofit called the Teller Wildlife Refuge along the Bitterroot River between Corvallis, Montana and Victor, Montana on the east side. It was a piece of property that was set up by a gentleman named Otto Teller back in the 80s, and you could see what was going on out here in the Bitterroot Valley in terms of land fragmentation and people coming in buying up property. And he had a background in land trusts in California, and so he set up Teller with a gentleman named Phil Tawney, who was a lawyer out of Missoula, and they just had the vision to protect this place and put a permanent conservation easement on it.
Teller carefully manages access for fishing and hunting activities to maintain healthy wildlife populations. For volunteers at Teller, their efforts are rewarded with limited day access to the property. As a volunteer at the annual Women's Duck Camp, Montana FWP employee Sydney Young has been invited to spend a day out of the office and inside the duck blind, along with Nicholas Petrini.
I do a lot of questions when I'm answering calls at the front desk about possession limits, about how many fish that you can take on a certain river. So this helps me put that knowledge that I have into practice, and it's just really awesome to be out in the resource, freezing your butt off in a duck blind.
Actually, took on to it. Good job, Sydney.
Got a duck?
Approximately 150 acres of wetlands have been enhanced and restored to provide open water for hundreds of geese and thousands of ducks that stop over at Teller during their annual migration.
The Bitterroot Valley has had water manipulation going through it since the 1850s with farming practices and whatnot, and so the water's been moved all through the valley, and outside of the riparian corridor we've got a really intact wetland complex that's a mix of natural wetlands and then altered wetlands that we have worked with federal agencies to create these open water spaces for waterfowl habitat. It acts as a water filtration system. It helps with the groundwater table here in the Bitterroot Valley. It keeps water in the river during the summer months, and it's a really unique complex that we've got. So it provides a lot of really good wildlife habitat.
A cold day in the duck blind at Teller Wildlife Refuge warms the soul of Sydney Young.
It just feels really good to be out here, and to immerse yourself in nature is really good for the soul and really good for all of us to kind of just get rooted in what we love, and this is one of the things that I really love to do.
I'm Lauren Carnop, and remember, the outside is in us all.